Hmm? Oh, the after. Oh, there's my friend Helen. I can do this. Well, it's about time to start. I do a Reagan impression that she enjoys, so I have fun with that. Well, there you go again. Anyway, welcome. I'm going to just kind of get started right away, and then I'll come back and share some more opening remarks. So here we go. Thank you. So that was my opening composition, an English Baroque style trumpet tune simply called Trumpet Tune in D. I wrote it kind of in that English Baroque style, so it had sort of an A melody, a B melody, and a contrasting middle in the minor key. So we went from D major to D minor. So there you go. My name is B.J. Meyer. For those of you that may not know me, I'm the organist for now. Much like Kevin McCarthy, I secured this position by 2 votes, and I can be ousted at any time if I play the wrong note or job security for you. Anyway, oh, it's not, okay, no, I actually 2 votes, so there you go. One of the things I always like to do with this organ behind me is sort of showcase the wide range of this organ. It's a digital pipe organ, and you can kind of read a little more about that in your program on the back page, so I won't bore you with those details, but I typically like to play something really loud to open, and then I like to contrast that with something softer and expressive, but usually using stops or sounds that you're not going to find on a traditional pipe organ. And so this next selection, beside the Sea of Galilee, is going to do just that. It's a softer selection, but it's not necessarily slow. You know, we tend to sometimes think that soft means slow, but not in this case. So it's got some movement to it, a very lyrical melody, but not necessarily on the slow side. It uses a sound that's simply called the orchestral flute, and I think you'll like it, and I'm standing right here playing with me. The vibrato's quite impressive for being digital. So anyway, I hope you enjoy it. Sort of light and airy. So I'm hoping, with today's program that I've got something for everyone. So that was lyrical. This next one can just simply be summed up in one word: fun. It's very energetic. It's aptly titled. I'm trying to think of a word to describe it, and so I simply called it "Sing a Joyful Song." And so the work pretty much starts straight away with the melody, no real intro. And the melody kind of dances around between different solo stops. Initially, it's in kind of what we would call a reed stop, so it kind of has a little bit of a bite. And then a 2-foot flute takes this melody. So think piccolo, basically, when you hear that. Very, very high register sound. And then a contrasting middle. And then we go back and do this kind of same theme again. And then the last iteration kind of pulls out a few more stops, so it's a little fuller. So here is Sing a Joyful Song. It's fun to, I've had a lot of fun, really kind of over the last, I guess probably at this point, 2018, what is that, 5 years, 6 years, someone, I just work in the office, I'm not the math person. But anyway, back in 2018 is when I kind of started exploring this whole idea of composing and arranging music more seriously. I've pretty much kind of done it off and on ever since I learned how to read music, way back in the 6th grade, just would kind of mess around with different things and write them out. But it wasn't until 2018 that I started taking some courses and kind of fleshing out this idea and trying to learn, how to do it. So anyway, it's been fun kind of exploring that personality. My default personality is to write slower, more expressive pieces. That's kind of, my wheelhouse. I like to play that kind of music, that sort of thing. But I like the loud stuff too, but that just seems to be what I default to. So pieces like the last one are fun to do because I break out of that shell, so to speak, and kind of do something different, if you will. So I'm going to travel to the piano for these next couple selections. And I know, false advertising, I said it was an organ program, but I'm going to play a little bit of piano. Hope that's okay. The first selection I'm going to play on the piano is, again, an original composition, as most of these are. But here again is kind of breaking out of that kind of shell. I tend to kind of stick to very typical, traditional composition, form, style, harmonization, etc. This next piece is the exception. I wrote it kind of in the style of a Richard Kingsmore piece. Richard Kingsmore is wonderful church composer. Got a book of his back in the early aughts called The Journey. It's full of piano solos and hymn tune arrangements, but he has this way of writing very reflective, free, less about sticking to a strict tempo and more about playing with feeling. And it's really neat and really refreshing. So this is my kind of nod to Richard Kingsmore and writing in kind of that style. So it's called Following the Savior, and what you'll hopefully kind of pick up on is a melodic motif throughout that is kind of my interpretation of Jesus calling to the disciples, come follow me. So you'll kind of hear, at the very beginning, you'll hear this melodic idea, and it will just kind of keep reoccurring throughout. So here is Following the Savior. I guess I'm just trying to get extra steps in, because if I'd thought that through, I would have introduced the other piano piece when I was over here to begin with. But anyway, I got one more piano piece I'm going to play. I've been talking about breaking the rules. They're not really rules, but I just make them rules. But anyway, most everything I write for one particular audience, church. It's because it's what I do. It's my job, and it's my passion. And so all the music I write typically is for the church audience. This next selection is the only exception to that. I wrote this piece for someone very special in my life. This next piece was my wife's Valentine's Day gift that I gave her a couple of years ago. And she liked it, but she encouraged me to kind of don't be afraid to play it elsewhere, so to speak. She didn't want me to feel like that it was exclusive to her, even though it is. But so I'm going to play it for you with her blessing. I had to come up with a title with that in mind, so I call it Resting in Thee, and it kind of works on two levels if you think about it. The most obvious, from a biblical standpoint, is just this idea of resting in God's, abiding presence and not worrying, but trusting in Him. But then, of course, on the, on the friendship, wife level, it works in this idea that, your husband or wife, your spouse, significant other is your best friend. And so that's kind of the idea behind that. So this one's probably a little more of a traditional style in terms of an A section, B section, A section. So I hope you enjoy it. Okay, now I get to stay over on this side for the rest of the program. So, going to go back to the organ for this next selection, which is a hymn, a gospel hymn from yesteryear, if you will, Ivory Palaces. Every time I think of Ivory Palaces, I think of George Beverly Shea singing it at a Billy Graham crusade, probably because I found when I Googled it and YouTubed it, that was the first clip that came up, so very, very appropriate. This is by a wonderful church arranger. It's no longer with us, but he left a wealth of music for church musicians and choir. Like I said, kind of arrangement, sort of throwback to yesteryear, if you will. I reflect that in the selection of stops that I use. I start kind of with strings and a clarinet, or I don't know if Melinda's here, a fake clarinet. I know, not a real clarinet, but then I add in kind of a Hammond organ kind of vibe, because Hammonds were common, of course, in the day. And then we get a little bit of a fake choir, you know, maybe the Mormon Tabernacle standing right behind me. I don't know, I can't promise, but a little bit of a choir sound. And so kind of builds and builds, and then has a little bit of a surprise ending, because just when you think it's going to get louder, it fools you and it gets soft. So there you go. Here is Ivory Palaces. it's fun doing that. It's just mixing it up and, just keeping everyone guessing. That's the name of my game. So anyway, I'm already well into the program, but I just can't tell you how much it means to me to have you all come out to help me celebrate Big 41, if you will. This morning our pastor was talking about this idea of community. And, as I look out here, you all are my community. Some of you I've known more than 20 years. And in the case of my parents, a whole lot longer. Anyway, I mean, in all honesty, I am who I am because of every one of you, whether you realize it or not. A little bit of your personality kind of, left its indelible mark, if you will, on me. I'm going to embarrass my dear friend Sharon, but I'm particularly thinking of my friend Sharon, who came all the way over from DeLand. Sharon is literally the reason I'm an organist. I was attending their church back some 20-odd years ago, and I've told this story probably before, but the choir sat upstairs next to the organ. So I got to kind of see firsthand what an organist does and that sort of thing. And she just really made it seem very, very neat and cool. And I just thought, ooh, get to pull this out and that out and make different sounds. And me, as a band guy, that just really appealed to me. So, but she's the reason I'm an organist. And then she introduced me to the fellow that is the reason we've got this particular organ behind me. So just incredibly grateful. And then I've got my good friends Don and Lorene, who were willing to take a chance on a 19-year-old who had only been playing organ for about a year and said, sure, you can play organ for us at our church. And yes, 6 months, she reminds me. So, just a lot of fun, and I learned so much from them. So, but I'm just incredibly humbled and grateful that you all came out today. Thank you. My dear friend Meg is at the piano now because we're going to play a duet, but not on the organ. I'm going to play a keyboard duet, and you'll see why in a minute. Another wonderful hymn that we all know, "Oh, How I Love Jesus." And surprise, that's all I'm going to say. You'll just have to kind of figure out why I'm not giving away the big surprise. If that doesn't put a smile on your face, I'm sorry, I can't help you. That's fun. I will say, we played that in church 6 months ago or so, and we didn't, unfortunately, tell the preacher what kind of arrangement it was. So he introduced it as this piece that we were going to play after the sermon that everybody could be quiet and prayerful for. So imagine trying to be prayerful for with that type of interpretation. So I felt bad. I tried not to schmaltz it up, but I couldn't help it. So. Speaking of prayer, these next two selections are some examples of pieces that I've written for those times in the service where you need, every church musician knows this, you have to just sort of play quietly or play softly, and a lot of times it ends up needing to be kind of open-ended because you don't know how long, maybe it's an invitation or a prayer or something like that. So these next two selections I'm going to kind of introduce at the same time, but they're both examples of kind of that what I call circular work, meaning that they're kind of open-ended. You can end them wherever you need to. You can repeat them as you need to. So I'm going to, of course, play them as I intended them to be, start to finish. But the first selection is called Keep Me Safe, O God, and this is going to use that orchestral flute again. And then the second selection I'm going to play is called A Prayerful Psalm. And both of these pieces, what's kind of interesting about them, or at least I find it interesting, and if nothing else, I'll put it in for me alone, is that these are written in kind of what's known as chord tone melody. And what that means basically is I didn't have a melodic structure or like a brilliant thought or an idea for a melody. I just simply harmonically knew where I wanted to go, so I wrote out some chords, and I just made the melody fit the chord. So in a way, the melody came from nothing, if you will. Just, well, here's a chord, here's a chord, here's a chord. Where are the connecting tones? And so anyway, that's what these two pieces kind of share in common, is that there wasn't necessarily any preconceived melodic idea. Like the Sing a Joyful Song, I kind of knew what I wanted to do with that. But these two, just not really. So anyway, you be the judge and see what you think. not going to lie, I think that violin is my favorite orchestral sound in that organ. I love the intensity that it has. It's not bad for a fake violin. So anyway, moving into kind of the last section of the program, I'm going to go back to something more familiar, another timeless hymn, In the Garden. And what makes this arrangement perhaps a little unusual is that I use the chimes or church bells as the melody, which is perhaps an odd choice, or you might think, why? But I think it lends itself here. And so you've got the chimes kind of paired with some soft strings. Once again, kind of one of those deceptive endings where I'll build, 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 and then I'll kind of, sort of pull the rug away, as it were, and turn around and make it soft again. So I hope you enjoy. Here's In the Garden. Oh, before I forget, I just thought of something. You may wonder, why in the world has he got so many clips? If you were here 11 years ago, you probably remember the story, but for those that don't, I was playing this trumpet tune that had like 10 pages, and I didn't take into account that blower up there with the air conditioner. And so I'm playing along, and all of a sudden my pages start coming down. Well, but I'm playing, I can't do anything about it, and it's in my way. So I very quickly, I improvise, I rip the pages off and I throw them, and then I just keep right on going. So anyway, so ever since then, I always take precaution with the clips. So that's the story behind it. before I play my last piece, I want to thank you again for coming. And if you don't have to get away right away, there's cake and tea and all sorts of things across the way in Adams Hall. I hope you'll join me for kind of a more informal time, and we can visit, and and you can tell me what you liked and what you didn't like, and we'll go from there. So I may be ousted yet. We don't know. Anyway, my last piece is another hymn tune arrangement by Mr. Charles Woodcrest. It's Praise to the Lord, the Almighty. And I like this arrangement. I like everything about it. It starts with a trumpet fanfare. There's some syncopated kind of accompaniment with the melody staying in the trumpet. The last section is literally my wheelhouse. You're pedaling. It's got a lot of pedaling, and I love doing stuff with my feet, which is why turn the organ around? Again, it's what drew me to the organ was, oh my goodness, you can do that with your feet. But anyway, hope you enjoy it, and if I can keep my wits about me, this will end up right. But if not, no, I'll still see you on the other side. So. Thank you so much once again for coming out. And like I said, if you don't have to get away, please come join us across the way in the social hall. God bless you.